Loki hasn't even revealed his insane legendary Delphoon and his overpowered haki that only Shanks was strong enough to take down. But with only Ragnar, he's already starting to cause chaos on Elbaf while not even being fully freed. But for some reason, I believe Loki might be a good guy. Luffy is a really good judge of a character while also having the ability to bring people to his side. Just look at Marineford having Buggy and Crocodile, two former enemies working together on the battlefield. But let's take a step further by having Loki join the Straw Hat Pirates. Yes, the final Straw Hat Pirate. Let me explain though, as joining the crew is not as easy as many people think. From having Vivi be an honorary Straw Hat with that X symbol at the end of Alabasta to Carrot hype during Zou that took over, to the biggest pump fake in One Piece history with Yamato almost joining the crew but last minute backing out, and she would have been the strongest Straw Hat to join since we entered the Grand Line. But now with Loki being on the mural with Nika fighting Imu and maybe having the Surf Pin Delphoon, the legendary Delphoon named Jormungandr, capable of destroying the world, and the reason the Holy Knights want him to join as they seem to be close with his father King Harold. But the main reason I see Loki joining these Straw Hat Pirates is not the monster trio in front of him asking with a formal invitation. No. It's honestly, it's them fighting Loki and seeing how powerful he is. But not just that, there's currently a huge Straw Hat locked up in a vault that Imu was staring at in the vault with ice there. And I think that that Straw Hat might have been belonging to the ancient giant from the Void Century. And with Oda already foreshadowing this in the Thriller Bark arc with Oz having Luffy's personality and ancient giant related to the Void Century, expect Loki to help Luffy fight against Imu. So like the video, subscribe to the channel as we do a deep dive on the final Straw Hat, and also you can't forget to join the membership as there will be a lot of exclusive perks if you join the membership, guys. Before I talk about Loki, I have to talk about the first ever Straw Hat Pirate, who's similar in a sense to Loki when it comes to Zoro being locked up, chained up, and Luffy freeing him. Yes, that similarity stands true to this day when it comes to Loki and Zoro. If Loki is the last Straw Hat and Zoro is the first Straw Hat, I get the poetic moment of Oda doing this. But the reason why Zoro is so valuable is because he's the vice captain to Luffy, the right hand to Luffy. And he honestly just covers Luffy's blind spots. Like, Zoro has always done this from absolutely nothing, sacrificing himself for Luffy, to throwing away his pride and bowing down to Mihawk to be trained for Luffy. Zoro has always done this. And I feel like this is a really good foundation of what it means to be a Straw Hat Pirate. Then the next Straw Hat Pirate I want to talk about is probably one of the most controversial Straw Hat Pirates. That's Usopp, Luffy's best friend. And they have that family connection because Usopp's father is Yasopp, a part of the Red Haired Pirates, crewmate with Luffy's role model Red Hair Shanks, a father figure. That is really cool to see Usopp and Luffy have that connection. Honestly, just looking at their personalities, they see the world the same way. That's why they were so hyped for Elbaf. And Luffy does have a little bit more pride than Usopp, and Usopp's more logical than Luffy. Look at all the gadgets and weapons he's created, and look how weak he is and how he made it this far. But still, at the end of the day, Usopp and Luffy's connection is really close because of how they see the world the same way. And honestly, though, sometimes Usopp doesn't have that backbone where Luffy does, and he tries to back out. But it's like we saw when it comes to Usopp yelling at Luffy versus Lucci. There's so many moments where Usopp really did come through for Luffy. And yes, they had that moment where they beefed and they fought, but that's how close they are. You ever been so close to someone that you can have a fight like that and still come together? That's their relationship. That's why I call him the best friend of the crew, and that's what Usopp is, the sniper and best friend to Luffy. Then there's Sanji. Sanji is now getting the highlight that he deserves. First of all, they recognized him as one of the wings during Wano, and now in Elbaf there's Scopper Gaban and the whole left hand being highlighted. And Luffy said it, he can't be Pirate King without Sanji. Luffy doesn't say that a lot, so when Luffy said that, that was a big deal. He went into a Yonko territory, yes, Big Mom's territory, Whole Cake Island, and he said before that in Zou, he said that Sanji's worth 1,000 men. I know Scopper Gaban took out hundreds of men or thousands of men for Roger to get him to the hospital. That was pretty cool when that was the lore that was being dropped by Scopper Gaban. He pretty much has parallels to Sanji. And honestly, when it comes to Sanji's role, he's the left hand of Luffy. Like I said, Zoro covers Luffy's blind spots. Sanji is Luffy trusts him really much. Like, I've never, out of all the crew members, I think Luffy trusts Sanji the most. Like, and he does come clutch with Mr. Prince, opening up the gates of justice. Like, Sanji does come clutch, hopping on the sea train. Whenever Luffy needs Sanji, he will do his due diligence, and that's why I say he's the left hand and deserves that. Just look at Sanji asking for permission from Luffy to take on a Yonko ship at Dressrosa, and Luffy saying go ahead. That's the trust Luffy has in Sanji. Now the next crew member, you're probably thinking, why not talk about Nami after Zoro? Because Nami pretty much joined after Zoro during that buggy arc. So why did I say Nami for last of the East Blues? Because honestly, yes, she is part of the Romance Dawn trio, but she didn't officially join until after the Arlong Park arc. And I think Nami is one of the more interesting crewmates because she's the first woman crewmate of the crew. So she definitely is special in that right. And because Nami, you have to understand this. Yes, Nami loved Luffy from early on the Romance Dawn days, but she didn't know if he was smart enough to free her town, and that's why it took her a while to actually accumulate and officially join the crew. Actually, to let Luffy try, as sometimes you can see Luffy doesn't like how Nami's kind of blind to what the future holds, and that's why when she told Luffy to give up on Sanji during Hoger Island, Luffy told her to shut up, which is why it took her so long to say Luffy's the man to become Pirate King, but it was still iconic during Wano. It's ironic because she's navigating the crew's future in the Grand Line and is one of the most important pieces in Luffy becoming the Pirate King. But that's the relationship I see with Nami and Luffy. It's one of the more unique relationships because it's one of those things where they're so comfortable with each other, but sometimes they're uncomfortable with what they do. That's why you see Nami always whooping on Luffy. Now moving on to the Grand Line, this is where you get a lot of more unique crewmates in my opinion, because the first 5 in the East Blue are like more regular in a sense. When I say regular, just how they look around the same age group and whatnot. But this is where we start seeing unique crew members, and that's what the Grand Line really does, because the Grand Line is a unique area, and Chopper is Luffy's doctor, probably the most important role in the final saga, which is to save Luffy's life, as Luffy's been taking his lifespan throughout the entire story. Also, Chopper is like Usopp, Luffy's best friend. But like I said, Usopp is Luffy's best friend because they see the world the same way. Chopper is Luffy's best friend because they kind of speak the same language when it comes to how they're both morally driven and always chasing different possibilities. Honestly, that's why I think they speak the same language. It's just that Chopper's a little more shy and reserved, and Luffy tries to get that out of him. So I love seeing this relationship here when it comes to Chopper and Luffy. Then there's Nico Robin, and just like Nami, Robin didn't join right away, even though she was tagging along on the ship for a while. Yes, that's right. She first appearance was during the beginning of I think it was around the end of Whiskey Peak, and she officially joined the crew like arcs later than when she was on the ship after End of Alabasta. She joined at the end of Annie's Lobby. But you have to understand this. Robin is a character, like you have to look at it. Luffy made her want to live again. She wasn't just trying to join the crew. She was trying to find a purpose, and Luffy gave her that purpose. And her role on the crew is she supervises Luffy. Because Luffy's not the most logical guy and Robin is so logical, he always covers Luffy in that sense and helps Luffy succeed, always informing him about the world news and what's going on, and with the Void Sentry, and that's Luffy's territory because he's Nika Joy Boy. Like, that's Robin's role, that's Robin's job, like, pretty much, especially when it comes to the final end of One Piece. And Robin is going to make him Pirate King, just how Kozuki Yoda made Roger Pirate King by reading the road poneglyphs and getting Luffy to Laugh Tale. Yes, she's Luffy's supervisor, but her role is way bigger than that. Then there's Frankie, who pretty much officially joins the Shroud Pirates around the same time as Robin, even though he kind of gets introduced in Water 7 and is fighting Luffy right away. And people always wonder, why did Frankie fight Luffy right away? It's because they're complete opposites, guys. Just like that one moment in the anime where they're speaking to each other but they don't understand the hell they're saying. Yeah, that's Frankie and Luffy's relationship. And we just seen Frankie seeing some of the greatest page in One Piece history with the mural that's pretty much gonna connect a lot of things. And Frankie also met Roger and of course built the Thousand Sunny. Like, you have to understand, he had the blueprints to Pluton, the ancient weapon, the Iron Giant. There's a lot of things. Vagabond. Frankie's role is very huge, and just because he's the complete opposite of Luffy doesn't mean that they don't get along. Frankie and Luffy get along supremely well, as you see every time Frankie does something new, Luffy's always in awe. So we're gonna see Frankie probably make Luffy the most impressed in the final saga when he does his final ancient apocalyptic weapon or whatever huge thing he does, that Luffy's gonna be in awe when they end the final war that's about to just start right now. And the last crew member to join before the time skip was Brook. Yes, Soul King Brook. Luffy always wanted a musician, so he instantly loved Brook first time seeing him, and he met him with his Binky sake that feeds into the whole Nika lore. And Luffy also has a trust for Brook, just like he has for Sanji. And that's why Brook succeeded in getting the road poneglyph from Big Mama Yonko. An amazing moment. Like, that's why I honestly feel like Brook has been alive for so long. But the thing is, Luffy came along and gave him purpose when he lost it for being alive for so long because of his dog food. And I think Brook is going to have a major moment in the end story, and it might honestly, Brook does have some death flags because he hasn't died. He already died and then he got back to life. So if he dies again, that revived elf fruit goes to waste. And honestly, I think this could be a situation where Luffy, if he's gonna lose a crew member, I don't know what it is, but Brook has them death legs. He's already dead though. That's the joke, skull joke. And lastly, but certainly not least, is Jinbei. Jinbei is the only crew member to join after the time skip. But the thing is, Jinbei is not a post-time skip character. He's a pre-time skip character. Just like Nami and Robin, he was in the story for a while until he officially joined the crew. And Wano made him a Straw Hat, but Jinbei's been there for Luffy during the War Saga. And even though sometimes they butt heads because Jinbei showed Luffy like to remember what he has, he grabbed Luffy very strong and said, hey, snap out of it. He pretty much whooped Luffy's ass a little bit in the sense to snap out of it and remember that he still has his crew even though he lost Porcus the Ace. And Luffy showed Jinbei the endless possibilities of fishman relations with humans, with Otahime and Fish Tiger dying for this cause, and they shared that beautiful moment where they shared blood. So honestly, I feel like Jinbei and Luffy, they do have a great relationship. Yes, they're gonna butt heads sometimes, but they need each other. And honestly, Jinbei is an amazing final crew member that we officially had since pretty much to the current story. Now, I think Loki will be an official Straw Hat member, kinda, but kinda not. I think he will be like Odin was on the Roger crew. To read the poneglyph, Loki's role will be on the crew to defeat Imu, and hence be an honorary Straw Hat in the final war, just how Vivi is, as his half brother is already a part of the Grand Fleet. It's like the Law Alliance pretty much felt like he was on the crew, but Law wasn't on the crew. But I think Loki's gonna take a step further in a sense. But this will be a big part of the final war versus Imu, more so than fighting Blackbeard and heading to Laughdale. For goodness sake, he can't even fit on these Styles and Sunny. But when Yamato, Momonosuke, Whitebeard, maybe even King, a Mink Tribe member, maybe Carrot, Shirahoshi, of course, she's decided she's gonna join in this major fight against Imu, Loki will be the one standing side by side with Luffy, just like the mural. And so debate in the comment section if you disagree with me, him joining the crew. But I give my opinion and I'm out, guys. I'm a fan of Loki on the Straw Hat Pirates, the final Straw Hat Pirate.